Mark here for another great wisdom and knowledge podcast episode. Well, I wanted to bring on an expert or someone who, just experiences it daily, the government enslavement that has been going on, since we were young, I would say, because when we were in school, they had us do the pledge allegiance to the flag and all that stuff. They had mock elections for presidents. They had student council. They had all this, government enslavement, and this is not even talking about, what was in the textbooks and what they were teaching us. That's just, extracurricular activities, things that they, drove into us on a daily basis, you name it. But you personally work in retail and you deal with a lot of government enslavement in the form of EBT. And, when they have you enslaved into a system like EBT where you're relying on the government to, purchase stuff, what are these people purchasing? They are not purchasing healthy foods, are they?
No,
When
it's more like pops and drinks and stuff that's not good for the body.
Yeah,
So
Doritos, you name it.
yeah,
And you're at one of the major retailers, Walmart, and you see it all the time. People are buying junk. The government is, wants you to buy this junk, then you get sick, and then you're into the, enslavement healthcare system, and one thing that I want to ask you is when you stream something, when you're watching something and you see all these, commercials. I know you don't watch a lot of stuff, but you see these commercials. What is it? .gov, healthcare.gov, you name it. You know, shouldn't this be a red flag? It's a red flag to you. You've woken up to it. And how did you personally wake up to, hey, government's not for us? I don't want this government enslavement.
I'd say the guy that listened to the video, the guy from the Cobra Uprising. That was the first time I started waking up to it. Which if he's still online right now, but that's the time I started waking up to it and realized what was going on. And just the way that society is now, that is controlled, and they're just able to control them with food and whatever TV shows. So that's the reason why you see it. Yeah, I mean, you're watching TV shows, but you see the stuff that they're putting in the background sometimes, and the words they keep using repetitive every time.
And it's also something else that they use this tactic. It says like separation of church and state, right? But when you go
Yeah,
into these, organized religions, whatever it be, or organized churches, they are camps promoting the government, whether it be, get your shots, mask up, you got to vote this way. It's nonsense. What do you think?
yeah. I think the church is like very brainwashed in that stamp, because a lot of people I've seen are still wearing a mask and they claim that they're still going to church. So I don't get this. I'm really confused about that.
Not
So
only that, a lot of the churches were promoting these, shots, these COVID shots,
yeah,
these lethal shots, and it's like, no, and they're just, uh, in my opinion, they're also, they're not following the word of God. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, exactly.
But to get back to the actual enslavement of the government, you see it so much because they want you to rely on them. They want you to vote and they want you to do this. I mean, you've seen before in election cycles, and even not non-election cycles where they're like, you know, you got to vote this way. You got to get out and vote. You go on social media. What do they say? Are you registered to vote? Are you registered to do this? And not only that, you see, trucks waving a Trump flag, doing this, doing that. You see people, with the Biden bumper sticker, you name it. And as two of us who, have no interest in voting, can't stand, know it's a selection process, how does that make you feel when you go out into society and see this?
No, yeah, it just reminded me that I woke up to it, especially the voting. I mean, there was a guy, I don't know, it was a couple years ago. I
Mhm.
found him in the Colorado Uprising. He was talking about, he was trying to be a, like, go register to be one of the candidates of voting. And
Sure.
some reason he knew that it was all rigged and no, it was being pre-selected. People were getting pre-selected already to be the voters. People don't realize that people are just the way they just troll you, and that's how they control you too with the voting, probably because they're just like, oh, this is opposition and this is Democrats and Republicans, and they're just fighting over each other, and you're like, oh, wait a minute, it's not really them, it's the government doing that, but they don't realize that. So it
No,
just has a repetitive argument between the two of them, and they don't realize it.
it's funny because I was out yesterday and you're gonna laugh at this. Somebody was wearing on their jacket, they had the winter jacket because it gets cold over here, over here in
Yeah,
Wilmington. And it said like, love your neighbor, vote. And I'm thinking to myself, if okay, voting causes all this division, causes all this hatred, it's an illusion to begin with.
yeah.
How are you loving your neighbor by voting? You're not, you know?
No, but that's the way that people are taught, and they keep. What's that other guy? I don't know his name. The guy was always talking about these TV shows and movies,
Oh,
but
Jason Christoph.
yeah, Jason Christoph. But I mean, they're constantly talking about voting, so it gets in your mind that you gotta vote, you gotta vote, you gotta vote, because they keep repeating the same thing on TV about voting, 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 Trump, Trump, Trump. They keep doing that, and that's why people are so brainwashed to think that voting is the greatest thing ever, which is not.
No, it's not at all. And it enslaves you into the mentality that I can't take care of my own life. I can't think for myself. I got to think the way that they think. Yesterday they reported that in Ecuador, in the country of Ecuador, that the drug cartels are taking over the country or maybe cities in the country or whatever it may be. I think it was a whole country. So they're bringing the military out. And you know what the stupid, Republicans, I don't follow politics, but somebody told me, and so I just, glanced at it. They said this, oh, well, if this continues, this is gonna happen in America if you don't vote our way.
Hmm.
How
Yeah,
stupid is that? If everyone just said, hey, left versus right, Republican, Democrat, you name it, if they just said no to this would all go away. They'd have no support whatsoever.
yeah, that would be nice, but people are so brainwashed and think it's the solution to their answer, voting.
Yeah.
And it's nothing has changed since if people just realize everything that we've been about voting, these same things has not changed. Nothing's changed. Actually, stuff got worse now. So it's just like, why do you keep voting and you know it hasn't changed, but people think it's a change, but it's not a change. I don't know. It's confusing about that, but
Well, I think part of it is, and I think you'll agree, is just all this like spell crap that they put upon you too, like drain the swamp or build a wall or whatever it may be, and they just get riled up. They get, almost like the same way that people get riled up at one of these, sporting events. Wouldn't you say so?
Yeah, keep saying the same words, and then the words that they use, it triggers people to act the way they act. Just keep repeating it. So
Now, what do you see here in America? So many people say, oh, well, I think America might be better off, but in the future, like they might actually, and as far as waking up to this global agenda, to this plan, to everything that's going on. But the problem with America is, and I'm not speaking ill of our country, is that so many people are brainwashed into this cycle that I can't think for myself. I can't do things on my own. I need to get into this government enslavement. I need to support this government. I need to do this. I need to do that. And it's just destructive to our whole country, isn't it?
yeah, it is. And the funny thing about it, like I think America's probably going to be. Well, I don't know if America's going to be the testing ground, but a lot of stuff that's happening now is involved with China, and they're gonna involve that in America.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, and do you think that they'll start out in places like, okay, you said you brought up a great point, testing ground. Do you think they'll start out in major cities like New York, Chicago, LA, and do
yeah,
they, especially New York, it seems like.
it's tested out in New York, LA, more like LA and New York. So and just see
That
if people fall for it. So
now in 2024, right now, that's the year that we're in. Do you think we'll see a lot of chaos, maybe even worse than 2020 when this thing, when this fake thing came, and just reshaped the whole world? Do you think
yeah, it would be a lot worse, but it's hard to say because the way these people work is like, okay, this works. Okay, maybe this doesn't work. Maybe slow down a little bit. Maybe this works. They're always testing to see if it'll work, see
Mhm.
if they can get away with it. But I think it would be more like trying to get away with a digital currency, maybe a war, which is eventually probably going to happen. So I don't know. It's hard to tell.
Well, do you think there'll be a lot of things that are false too that they're putting out as truths, and that happens all the time?
Yeah, they'll do that all the time. Make it not true or try to put
Come
some
out with a
off.
story and the story's completely fake. The story's not real. And so many
Yeah,
people are buying it, whether it be like alien invasion, you name it, outbreak,
they'll do that too. I mean, they gotta do something to control people to get
So,
their.
yeah, exactly. So, as someone who has woken up, how important is it to, stay away from all this, to, just look out for yourself because they don't care about us. They don't care about our health. It's all an enslavement process, and you need to, get yourself out of it.
Yeah, you do, but it's like you do gotta get away from the enslavement. But it's like some reason it's like people are so brainwashed to not get out of it, and I don't. You do have to look for yourself, but they're not looking for your best interest.
No, and one thing that I've noticed, okay, is that it seems like your fellow man, your neighbor, you name it, whatever you want to call it, people in your city, you name it, wherever you live, especially here in America. Think about it. People who bought into 2020, with the COVID 1984, they have uh basically been enslaved into this thinking, and they don't care about you. They don't care about your well-being because they don't care about, what you want to do to stay healthy. They just
Yeah,
care about what the government says and what, the talking heads say, whether it be health officials, you name it, who really health officials are not health officials because they're not caring about health. The only thing that they care about is their Rockefeller medical industry and uh the pharma profits, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I'll say that.
And one other thing, you brought up the TV shows, you know, you see what they're placing. Do you ever see them placing in TV shows, movies, you name it, organic, healthy food or eating healthy? Don't you always
No,
see like, them eating like uh fast food, ridiculous cereals, drinking coffee, whatever it may be?
yeah, I'd say that more than healthy food.
I mean, if you break down, what's funny? You break down even shows like Seinfeld and stuff, they always had in Jerry's apartment, now that I think about it, they had a bunch, he had a cabinet with a bunch of like all those cereals that were just that are completely, destructive for your health. You bring
Yeah,
it down to something like that. It's insane to see the brainwashing that's going on.
yeah, it is.
And one thing with your life, since you've obviously cut way down, or cut out the, watching TVs and movies, you're watching it to see what the predictive programming is, what they're putting out. Has that made a difference in your overall life?
Yeah, I'd say so. I'm more aware about it, to see what they're planning and see what they're using and words they use. So,
Now, do you think in 2024, or in the future, I should say, do you think more and more people will wake up like you, or do you think it will be harder, especially the ones who bought in the 2020? Do you see any chance of them waking up, or do you think they're just done?
hard to tell. Probably be if people wake up, it'd be very few. I mean, I don't think it would be a lot than people think it would be. And
Yeah.
people are half people are just so brainwashed about it. It's like, you would think a whole bunch of people would wake up, but I don't know. Could change. People could wake up. Hard to tell, but it just you look at society now, they're just like, to have them walk like zombies half the time.
No, I exactly. And a lot of them too are just concerned about the wrong things. They don't
Yeah,
care about their life. They care about the latest, NFL game where they're just obsessing about, fake sport that doesn't give, 2 cents about their lives, doesn't care
yeah,
about their lives. These players don't care about their lives. They just care about, themselves and profits and all that. It's funny. I don't know if you knew this, but especially in the, NFL nonsense, there was a player, Travis Kelsey, who, did the commercial for Pfizer, and he made way more off that commercial than he did for his NFL contract,
no,
promoting the
I didn't know.
Pfizer shot. Yeah.
I didn't know that. Yeah,
Well, you don't watch NFL and could care less about that, staged acting sport, it's ridiculous.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you coming on as a guest, and for yourself personally, isn't it, more rewarding to be around people who are like-minded, people who actually get what is going on, and people who are actually standing up for all of humanity?
yeah. Say so.
Like with you, do you want you said it, I think earlier, that some of these people are just so brain dead or brainwashed that you don't even want to be around them.
Yeah, you don't, but it's like, yeah, sometimes you just don't have a choice. You
You're
gotta be
forced,
around.
yeah. Whether
Yeah,
being
you
out in
have.
society, you name it. I know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I really appreciate you coming on as a guest. We'll have to do this again sometime. Thanks so much. And it's great to see people standing for freedom of all of humanity.
yeah. No problem. Thank you.
Yeah. For wisdom and knowledge, this is Mark. More great episodes to come, and continue to take a stand, continue to, think for yourself, to take care of yourself, take matters into your own hands, And be sure to subscribe, share these episodes out. And if you have any suggestions, leave the comments below. Thanks so much.